my dear friends. We are being on the second class for Physics GCSE EDEXCEL. Earlier, we worked over with the scalars and vectors. We learned the differences between the scalars and vectors, and we learned about the distance and displacement. Today, before moving further with the speed and velocity, we need to understand how you can work more with the vectors, like with the addition of the vectors. What is the resultant of two vectors? Okay, so let's just start with that one. Okay, so when I talk about resultant, the word resultant means it is resulting out of two or more vectors. So when I'm talking about the resultant of two vectors, then it has been a single vector which produces the same effect as being produced by the vectors collectively. Now, what does that mean? Suppose you have two vectors A and B, okay? And you need to find out the resultant of these two vectors. So what you do, you represent the two vectors in terms of the two sides of a right angle triangle, and then the hypotenuse gives you the resultant of the two vectors. Let's just say C. Now, as C becomes the hypotenuse of this right angle triangle, so its magnitude could be given by using the Pythagoras theorem, that is C is equals to A squared plus B squared. As C is a vector, so your angle is also important. So how would you calculate the angle? Using tangent theta. How would you calculate tangent theta? Using the trigonometry perpendicular over base. In this case, B is the perpendicular, A is the base. So here I'm talking about the magnitude only. So B divided by A. And in the calculator, you use a function which is called tangent inverse, and you plug in the values B divided by A, and that will gives you the angle. Okay, let's just have an example here. Suppose you moved 2 meters east and then 5 meters north. Then what is the final displacement? So I need to find out the final displacement. So we have 2 meters east, and then what we have? 5 meters north. East and north directions are perpendicular. So already we have drawn our two vectors in line in order. Okay. So 2 meters and 5 meters. What I told you earlier, that it is the hypotenuse of the triangle that will gives you the resultant or the addition of the two vectors. So here it becomes the C vector, the resultant vector. So how would you calculate C? C would be 5 squared plus 2 squared, which will gives you 25 plus 4, which will give you under root 29 meters. Now the angle is also important. So you have theta. So we calculate tangent theta, which is equals to perpendicular, that is 5, and the base, that is 2. So you get theta as tangent inverse of 5 by 2. That's how you'll calculate your final resultant. This is the case where you are using the trigonometry, but it is necessary to use the trigonometry? No, you could use the vector diagrams also. Okay, vector diagrams. For an example, I'll start talking about the vector diagrams with the help of an example. Suppose a car moves 5 kilometers in east direction and then take a turn and then 10 kilometers in, sorry, it's 10 kilometers in north direction. What is the final displacement? What is the final displacement? Now, here you use your ruler, okay? And here you use a scale. See, I cannot draw 5 kilometers on notebook. So what I do, I'll take that 1 kilometer is equivalent to 1 centimeter to draw my vector diagram on the notebook. So in that case, 5 kilometers becomes 5 centimeter and 10 kilometers becomes 10 centimeters. Okay, so using a ruler, I draw 5 centimeter here. Suppose this is 5 centimeter, and then the north direction 10 kilometers, that is 10 centimeters. So here is my 10 centimeters. Correct? I do not have a ruler here, so I am just assuming that the lines which I have drawn, this is 5 centimeter, this is 10 centimeter. Now, how would you find out the resultant? You just join this line, complete the triangle, okay, and using the ruler, you measure the length of this line. Okay, you measure the length of this line. Okay, so using the ruler, measure the length of the hypotenuse. Correct? Okay, so here if I measure it or if I calculate it, what I'll get here is being this around 11.1. Okay, so I just calculated it because I do not have a ruler here, but you can calculate it, you can measure it and find out the final displacement here. So what is the final displacement which you will get near around? That is between 10 to 12. So exact answer is 11.18, as my all the digits which I am using is having the one significant figure here and here two significant figure. So I'm just keeping it to two significant figures. So it will gives me 12 centimeters. Okay. So my displacement is 12 centimeters here. How would I measure the angle? Using the protector, just measure the angle. Okay. So how would you take theta? Measure using protector. Okay, and that will gives you the displacement and in which direction. I hope I'm clear with this vector diagram. Okay, now after understanding with the vectors here, we'll very quickly move to understand the concept of the speed and velocity. Now when I talk about the speed and velocity, speed is what? What is your understanding of speed? Please do comment below. What is your understanding of speed? See, whenever an object moves, it is covering a certain distance in a certain time. So the rate of motion could be a one thing with the help of which you can express that speed is. Okay, so what is speed? Speed is the rate of change of distance. Okay, or it is measures how fast an object is moving, how quickly an object moves. And how do you calculate the speed? Speed is equals to distance divided by time. It is speed is equals to distance divided by time. And as distance is a scalar quantity, speed does not have any direction and hence it is also being taken as a scalar quantity. Now, in which units it is being measured? The standard unit is meters per second. You could either represent meter m divided by s, or you could write down m/s. There is a one more way to write it as meter per second, but usually in GCSE EDEXCEL we work with these two notations of representing the units. Okay. Now, after understanding this one, the next thing that comes up is the average speed. See what happens here. Why we calculate the average speed? Because suppose you are starting from the point A to point B. Is it necessary that you move on with the same speed? If you are traveling in a car, you could see that the speedometer keeps on changing the speed, and it depends upon the traffic, the roads, the condition of the roads. Okay. That's how it depends on. So average speed to create a uniformity. How do you calculate the average speed? Average speed is total distance covered divided by total time taken. Okay. Average speed is also a scalar quantity. What it is? It is a scalar quantity, and it is also measured in meters per second, or m/s, or meter per second. Do understand there are number of more units in which we can calculate the speed. Likewise, you could have kilometers per hour. Okay. Also, but the standard unit which has been acceptable everywhere, that is meters per second. Now let's just work with this example. It says calculate the average speed of a hiker moving 15 meters in 3 seconds. It's easy, 15 divided by 3. Now let's just come up with a question here. Suppose you traveled 2 meters in 3 seconds. Okay, this is the first. Then you increases your speed and you covered 4 meters in 3 seconds. Then you come at rest for 3 seconds, and then again you covered up 10 meters in 10 seconds. So calculate the average speed. How would I calculate the average speed? Total distance. What is the total distance? 2 meters. Plus the next is 4 meters. Then the 10 meters. Divided by the total time. What is the total time? 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Now the question comes up, would you count these 3 seconds or not? Please do comment yes or no. Yes, we will count these 3 seconds. Here the object or the body is at rest. Okay. It is not that the timer has been stopped. Time is already been getting elapsed here. So we will calculate this. 3 seconds. So what is my total time? 3 seconds plus 3 seconds plus 3 seconds plus 10 seconds. And it will gives me 16 meters divided by 19 seconds. Okay. So it is 16 meters divided by 19 seconds. And when you solve it, you will get 0.842 meters per second. Now the thing is, how many significant figures you will use here? If you look over here, 1. So here you have 1 significant figure, 1, 1, 1. Here you have 2, 1 and 2. So your whole values which you are using in this question is being having 1 significant figure or 2 significant figures. We keep it to the minimum significant figures. Okay. It is by rule. If the question says represent it in 2 significant figures, you leave your answer as 0.84 meters per second. And if you go by the rule, you have to keep only 1 significant figure, that your answer will be 0.8 meter per second. I hope I'm clear with the calculation of the average speed. We have covered up the concept of the vectors, resultant of vectors, the vector diagrams we have covered up. And then we worked over the speed, what we mean by speed, the characteristics of the speed, and we worked over the average speed. Okay. And a question related to the average speed. In our next section, means in our next class, we will talk about the velocity, we will talk about the average velocity, and we will talk about the difference between the speed and velocity. Hope you have liked this session. I would request you, if you have liked it and you liked the way of the explanation, do like, follow, share, and subscribe. And do leave a comment if you want any kind of a change in the video, or if you want to bring up any questions, do post in the comment section. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye-bye.